Welcome to the Series Sweep podcast. We're breaking down each and every single Dodgers series for the 2020 season. You can follow us on the YouTube channel, The Series Sweep. You can follow us on Twitter at The Series Sweep. You can follow me, your host, Eric Yulo. I'm on Twitter at EEULAU. I'm on Instagram under the same handle. The Dodgers rip off 3 wins against the Diamondbacks in this series. They finished the road trip 5-1, started in Houston, ended in Arizona. I'll try to refrain from using the phrase "the Valley of the Sun," which we hear way too often when we play the Diamondbacks. But the highlight, the absolute highlight for this series has to be the return of Clayton Kershaw on Sunday. We will get to that in a second. So here is your series recap here. Game 1, a 6-3 win. They got out early. A.J. Pollock with a 2-run shot. Seager with another home run. They just kind of coasted through after going up early in Game 1. Game 2 is the game I think we're going to talk about the most tonight besides the Sunday game, which we just wrapped up. But that's the 3-5 loss where the offense just absolutely struggled. And I know the bullpen's going to get blamed for this game, and Dave Roberts, and I think there's another department, another piece of the team that should bear a lot of the weight of that loss. And we'll get into that in a second. A Game 3, the blowout. Don't you just love a good old Dodgers blowout when they're just crushing an NL West rival? Doesn't happen all that often. It happened a couple of times to start the season against the Giants, but that trend did not continue. But another Edwin Rios home run. Another huge home run. A lot of extra base hits. The bats were moving. And then Game 4, this past game, the 3-0 win. The game we just finished today with Clayton Kershaw back on the mound after that back injury. He looked fantastic. Avoided really any sort of hard contact. A couple of spots, some traffic on the base pads here and there. But so far, so good for Clayton Kershaw. And probably the best part of that start was where he was on the radar gun, which was in that 92 to 93 miles an hour, which we saw him a lot at 91 last year. I think that's pretty damn concerning. The series score, as you see, 23-10. I mean, a lot of that helps with that 11-2 win on Saturday, but I think the Dodgers were clearly the better team in this series. There's a couple tipping points that I thought the Diamondbacks would get into this series and really make it a series, as well as shoot for that split. The Dodgers just too dominant. The average, 253, nothing out of this world, but a lot of damage done with runners on the bases and a lot of home runs, a lot of long balls. You saw Matt Beatty get involved on Saturday after the same inning as the Edwin Rios home run. And the pitching staff ERA 1.5, spectacular. I thought the pitching was top notch. I don't think you can ask for much more, which is why I think and why we're going to key in right now on Game 2. Everyone wants to blame the bullpen and Dave Roberts. And we have on Twitter, by the way, you can comment on us while the show is rolling. We have at DodgerKatie34. Friday night's loss is on Dave Roberts. I don't think that's the case. I'm sorry. And I think we do this a lot because of the failures of the Dodgers. There are times where I think Dave Roberts gets blamed for things that aren't entirely his fault. Now, that inning where it all came unwound, I'm not sure that it was the greatest idea to intentionally walk Eduardo Escobar. They did it anyway to get Christian Walker to the plate. How about the offense shows up and scores more than 3 runs in a game? I don't think that's unreasonable to ask. I do think it is unreasonable to ask to have your bullpen again and again and again hold wins down for you. It's just not going to happen. They're not always going to have these incredible bullpen performances that you saw against the Astros, you saw a little bit against the Giants. The bullpen's been lights out. I don't think that's always going to be the case. I think they have an above-average bullpen, but it's unreasonable for fans, in my opinion, to blame that loss, that 3-5 loss, on Dave Roberts and the bullpen. You know, you click on it, it's one of those headlines, oh, the bullpen blew the game. Did they? Did they really blow the game, or did the Dodgers offense only score 3 runs? An offense which features the NL MVP, if you haven't heard enough on the broadcast or forgot, Cody Bellinger. And I think his issues tie right into that Friday loss, where he's been 0 for a million. He's looked awful at the plate. He's been rolling over a lot of grounders. We're not looking at, as far as BABIP goes, or hard outs, or exit velocity off the bat, whatever StatCast, next-gen stat you want to use, Bellinger hasn't been leading them. And obviously he had the wonderful home run today, and I'm happy that he hit it. His issues mirror why we lost that Friday game. When you're relying on guys in the lineup who aren't used to producing night in and night out, you're going to have games where you lose, where you just don't score enough runs. And so I think when you're Cody Bellinger and you redid your batting stance for no apparent reason, because I guess you thought you were a 379 hitter, which is what you were hitting in April and May last year, and you tailed off in the back half of the year, which you did. The fix to that is to change your batting stance and your front foot positioning? I don't think so. I think it's to go back with the same approach, be smarter, watch some more film, and know the pitching matchups a little bit better. The reason we lost that Friday night game isn't entirely Cody Bellinger's fault, but it's a big piece of it when the offense can't get it together and you're relying on 3 runs to win a game at a hitter's friendly ballpark. That is completely unreasonable to me. There are times when it's absolutely Dave Roberts' fault why the Dodgers lose games, and a lot of them in October, unfortunately. That loss is not one of them. And so when you go on Dodgers.com or your MLB at bat, or you text your buddy, hey, what happened? Oh, the bullpen blew it. Yeah, that's true. The bullpen blew it. That is objectively true. Subjectively, I do not think the bullpen bears the full responsibility for why we lost that game. You got to score more than 3 runs in a game to sometimes, especially against the Diamondbacks, and especially at a stadium that you can hit the ball really well in. Now, the piece de resistance would be today. Clayton Kershaw back. Dodger fans, I think we all know that feeling when Clayton Kershaw's starting, and then the feeling when he's starting on Sunday to close out and win a series, that opportunity. It's a special feeling. We don't know how many more of them we're going to get. We don't know how many more baseball games we're going to get in general. The way he was moving his fastball around, the way he was using strikeouts to get himself out of trouble, reminds you of the Kershaw of old. A lot of people on Twitter today, this is the best Kershaw's looked in a couple of years. I don't think you're wrong. I don't think that's hyperbole. And this wasn't the Miami Marlins. Well, I guess we wouldn't be playing if it was the Miami Marlins. But this wasn't a team that can't hit the ball. This is a legitimate hitting team that has a great 1 through 5. You have Eduardo Escobar. You have Christian Walker, who we'll get to in a second for our series awards. This is a good hitting team. This is not some crappy pitching defense first team. I mean, he did this in a tough stadium for pitchers and against a lineup that was hungry and was ready and wanted to score and wanted to try to even up this series. The way the slider was moving, the way the fastball up and away in the zone, the way he battled back in counts, it all looked great. And then when you can throw that curveball, and I think Earl Hershiser and the broadcast did a great job of explaining it. When you can throw that curveball to righties, arm side for a pitcher, meaning away from the righties, and it's dropping in that lower corner for strikes, I mean, you're absolutely screwed. It is tough to hit Clayton Kershaw. It was fantastic to see him, and he looked really, really good. I was surprised how far they let him go, considering how short of a leash they kept Walker Buehler on. I think Clayton Kershaw's earned some extra innings on his first start being activated from the IL, maybe more than Buehler has, just with the, if you talk about it, Kershaw probably has a pretty good line of credit with that. Fantastic to see him out there. I hope he stays healthy. I think it's reasonable that he could finish in the top 10 for ERA for this season, and he can anchor this rotation. Because I think a lot of fans, myself included, got a little worried when you look at this rotation without Walker Buehler 100%, with no Clayton Kershaw. You're asking a lot from guys who I think can do it, but you're asking a lot from the Ross Striplings of the world and the Julio Uriases of the world and Dustin May. And we'll get to kind of how I think the rotation is going to shape up past that Padres series in the back half here. Last thing to break down, that bullpen ERA, 0.64. You're probably scratching your head, but what about the 4 runs Blake Trinan gave up? Those are all unearned due to the Turner error as well as the intentionally walked batter. So maybe just a scoring semantics there. But overall, the bullpen looked really good. And I think even if you probably throw those runs in there, we're still pretty happy with where the bullpen is. So we get to our stat of the series, and it goes right back into the Kershaw euphoria as at Charlie Lopez 42 says, "Happy Kershaw Day." Happy Kershaw Day to you too, sir. It was awesome. I loved it. Makes me want to cry. Kershaw allows 4 hits in only 5.2 innings pitched. Like I said, not really a ton of hard hit contact. Unlike Bellinger's incredible catch to end the game today, when Cole Calhoun just hit a straight gapper off Kenley Jansen with Sterling Marte on third. There was no, unless I'm misremembering something, there was no over-the-top heroic catch to save Kershaw from some runs. He earned his 0 earned, so to speak. The chemistry-changing moment of the series, I think it's Turner's 2 RBI double in the top of the 5th. I think the Dodgers, this was from Saturday's game when they were just rolling, to go up, just keep burying them with runs. I believe you're up 5-1. It's a moment where the Diamondbacks probably think that if they can get some more runs in when it was 3-1, maybe we have a shot at this. Just to have Turner break your back, I think it was the exclamation point on how potent this offense was over the weekend, or at least for Saturday, and what they can be. And you see it a lot with basketball teams. I just think the way this offense sometimes just tends to avalanche. If you make just one mistake, you walk one guy, or you give an extra base up on the trail runner, this team seems to always capitalize on it. So that was, for me, the chemistry-changing moment of the series. Was Saturday's Turner's 2 RBI double in the top of the 5th, just to really break that thing open. And the Steve Pearce Award, this is kind of a misnomer because Christian Walker is a known commodity, unlike Steve Pearce, but it's got to be Christian Walker. He had a hit in every game. He had what ended up being the game-winning double in Game 2 on Friday against Blake Trinan for those 4 earned runs. He has a 983 OPS against the Dodgers. His career is 806. Got to be your Steve Pearce Award winner. Other than that, they avoided Eduardo Escobar. He didn't do a ton of damage against them. Sterling Marte was on the base paths a few times, but I think the Dodgers avoided letting the Diamondbacks offense get into any sort of sync. I think they kind of created their own issue on that Friday game, as we talked about, with the absolute lack of offense. Speaking of Friday's game, and a guy that I've talked a lot about, at least in the last week, was Tony Gonzalez. I think Gonzalez looked good. I don't think he looked great. There was some hard hit contact there. That wasn't absolutely fantastic. He looked good. He looked like he can fill in at times for exactly what he needed when they need a spot start, when they need another reliever. And I do think he'll, if there is playoffs, if they finish the season, a lot of caveats this year. This is the year of the caveat, 2020. I think he'll be on the postseason roster. I really do. I think they like him. I think they trust him. It's rare you can just option a kid and just start him like that in a game and in a season where you can't just mail games in. Oh, we'll get him, 6 months in a season, we're good. No, you got to compete every day. And they knew Gonzalez gave him a great chance to win that game. And like I said, the offense just didn't come through. The bullpen inevitably was going to give up some runs when they were just so hot as they were. So really happy with Tony Smokes and how he pitched. I'd say it's got to be Clayton Kershaw for best starting pitcher performance for the Dodgers during this 4-game set against the Diamondbacks. There wasn't really anyone who completely fell apart early in their start. Still think they have one of the best rotations in baseball, and now that once we get Buehler all the way stretched out, and if Kershaw can stay healthy, they're right there. They're right where they need to be arms-wise in the rotation. The thing that I completely failed to mention in that loss that I just went on and on and on about there for about 10 minutes, Mookie Betts from the outfield to just nail Ketel Marte trying to leg a double into a triple. Next level. And that, my friends, is why you sign a guy for a decade plus for $365 million. That play right there. And then on top of that, he then just hits a home run the next half of the inning. There's few players in the game that can make that throw. There's even fewer that can hit a home run in the next inning. The Dodgers rolling now, 7-3 in the standings. They trail only the Colorado Rockies, who are 6-2. They have the number 1 run differential in the majors at plus 30, which I think is really impressive, which speaks to how talented this roster is. They're rolling, and they have probably the most important Padres series we've had against the Padres in years. The only one of significance that I can remember of the last few seasons. This is a Padres team that has shown some punch this year. I think the lineup is deep. You got Tommy Pham as an addition this year. The bullpen for the Padres with Kirby Yates, last year's All-Star, a guy who got some Cy Young votes as well, just a dynamite closer. He's been a little off this year. This is an important series. This is a great benchmark for the Dodgers, having go Astros, Diamondbacks, Padres, all three teams that a lot of people picked to do well this year, especially the Padres. Just a absolute media darling for a sleeper NL West contender. They're still the Padres. Until I see it, I will believe it. My uncle is a diehard Padres fan, and I still really, really get a chuckle out of when he's talking about the Padres contending for a playoff spot. I just don't think they have the starting pitching to do it. I thought their bullpen was better than their starting pitching, which has been the reverse. We'll see. They're a good team. We should not take them lightly. There's a very good chance that they can win a game or two. They could probably even win the series. So I'm not completely dismissing them. I'm just saying I don't always buy them as a playoff team. Haven't seen it in a long time. So Monday, you have Buehler versus Chris Paddock at 6:10. Tuesday, you have Dustin May versus Denison LeMay. And then Wednesday, you have Ross Stripling versus the immortal and really tall Garrett Richards. All those games are at 6:10, so no need to write them down. You don't need to, habitually check your ESPN app over and over again. They're all at 6:10, Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. So through 10 games, like I said, 7-3 for the Dodgers. You multiply that out. So let me do the math here. 60-game season. We've played 10 games. I got to multiply it by 6. 7 times 6. Thinking touchdowns, Eric. 42. Looking good on 42 wins. Would love to see it. I think they're right where we want them to be. Don't want to get too worked up about Friday night for the third time, but that was a big loss. I think for the reasons why they lost that game. I think another major piece of this series will be the health of Mookie Betts. Betts, who left Sunday's game with a hurt finger on a swing. The X-rays were negative, so hopefully he'll be back in the next day or two. But definitely makes you nervous when you have an impact bat, an impact glove, league leader in the clubhouse out for even one game in a season like this. But one of the calling cards of the Dodgers has always been able to overcome when key players are out, being able to overcome injuries and have a next man up mentality and have a lot of success with that. So the other injury from today, Corey Seager was out with leg and muscle cramps. I'm not sure if that's